Good morning. I gotta grab something. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Tamara Hamilton, and I'm working through my morning routine. I got my collagen coffee made already, and we're just gonna chit chat while I get through my routine because there's stuff to get through, okay? So, I had a lot on my mind as far as leadership. If you don't know, I've got 30 plus years of sales marketing and actually more than 30 years of leadership because I've been a leader of myself and others my entire life. I was the oldest child, oldest grandchild, first niece, so I was little in helping raise kids, okay? And I've always had leadership positions in any organization that I've been in. I've always been leaders in jobs. I know some people say there's no such thing as a natural born leader, but if there were, it would definitely be me. Okay, so I've been leading for a really long time. And so first thing I want to say, when we talk leadership, if I'm bringing something up, I am not targeting any single person. This is something that I have observed in multiple people, multiple situations, multiple instances over 30 plus years in leadership. So let's make sure we consider that. Somebody says exotic mustard. That's funny. No, it's a collagen. It's kind of like pudding. Okay. So when I'm talking leadership, if you're watching this and you feel like, boom, that was a jab. It really wasn't a jab, but you still need to feel that sting and do something about it. So like they say, a hit dog will holler, right? A hit dog will holler, bark, bark, right? So first of all, tell me, what do you think it means to be a leader while I start taking in some pills here? What does leadership mean to you? Okay? What does leadership mean to you? Because I can tell you what leadership is not. Leadership is not a rank, title, or position. You can lead from wherever you are, okay? And my whole thing with leadership is to be a leader that others want to follow, right? I am not the perfect leader. I have never been the perfect leader. I have definitely had struggles in my own leadership journey, and there's different levels to leadership as well. And so I've had growing pains. I've been through it all, and I'm sure I will continue to, because that is just a part of leadership, and that is just a part of life. It's always a constant leveling up, new levels, new devils, right? New levels bring new devils. So just keep that in mind, right? So it's about being the leader that others want to follow. And so with that in mind, we want to think about leaders that we've followed. And I'm going to tell you a really quick story. Like, my daughter was maybe 9-10 years old, and something had happened. I don't even remember what. That's neither here nor there. And she was like, oh my God, people in this family, what is wrong with them? And I said, well, everybody is going to be an example, right? Everyone's going to be an example of either what you want to be or what you don't want to be. And, we oftentimes just look at somebody and say, that person is a leader because they are exhibiting things that we consider to be strong leadership. However, we don't necessarily look at the people who fail at leadership as leaders. Oh, excuse me. But they are, in fact, leaders. They just are examples of bad leaders, right? So this isn't really a talk on good leaders versus bad leaders. This is a talk on just some different things that I've seen in leadership, coming from having worked in toxic work environments on multiple occasions, people who just weren't the best leaders, right? And so with that in mind, some of the things that I've seen that aren't, because not every leader is going to be perfect. Like I said, some leaders, you're going to really love them, you're going to bond with them, and they're going to serve you, but they're still going to have weaknesses, because that is just to be human, right? So we're not talking about that. But some of the worst things I've seen are the gaslighting and the manipulation. Like, the gaslighting and the manipulation are just, I just can't with the gaslighting and the manipulation. It's just weird to me when leaders gaslight people, okay? And that's where the whole toxic positivity comes in as well, because a lot of the toxic positivity manifests itself as gaslighting, right? So you can only be positive. You can't bring up opportunities for improvement. You can't bring up when something may not be quite right or could be better. It's you always have to be positive. And so when you're not positive, when you do bring things up, when you point things out, when you make suggestions, you are gaslit, and it becomes, oh, how could you say that? So-and-so does so much for all of us. And, that's gaslighting, right? I don't want to give too many details, because I don't want people to, I don't want a hit dog to holler at me, because I will bite back, right? So, but when you're being gaslit, because you're basically made to feel crazy for saying something, and it's not right. And generally, when other people are feeling the same way, but when you bring it up, you're gaslit, that's really kind of weird, right? That's really kind of weird. Another thing that I've seen with leaders is being passive aggressive. I think that's a form of gaslighting, to be honest with you, right? When a leader gaslights you and manipulates you, they often are being very passive aggressive, and you'll hear phrases like, well, if that's how you want to do it, if that's what you want to do, that not all the time when you hear that phrase is it being gaslighting but it can be a passive aggressive thing, because let's face it, in our society, especially amongst women, you can't always be direct, right? Because I'm naturally a direct person, and I've had to learn to be more empathetic or kind, I will say, is what I go for, because I don't want to be passive. I don't want to be passive aggressive. But here's the thing when you gaslight. Here's the thing when you manipulate. Here's the thing when you're caught in lies and you don't take accountability. Here's the thing when you always pass the buck and you play the blame game. Here's the thing when you're passive aggressive. It manifests in your team because, hold on, let me take these. It manifests in your team as distrust. People become distrustful of you as the leader when you do not show yourself worthy of trust by being passive aggressive, not saying what you mean, not being truthful in all that you do. And I'm trying to be very vague here. When you're passive aggressive, it creates a lot of distrust. When you gaslight and you manipulate, it creates an immense amount of distrust, because number one, people don't feel that they can confide in you, that they can come to you with problems, with solutions, with whatever. People don't feel that they can come to you. And so that alone right there is a state of distrust. And I think that is one of the number one team killers. When people don't feel that they can trust you, when they don't feel safe with you, because that's a low level Maslow need to feel safe, right? And so when people can't feel safe, they start to flee. First of all, they will flee. Some will act out. Okay. So if you want to be a strong leader that others want to follow, the first thing you have to do is be able to check yourself, right? You have to be able to check yourself. You also have to have really strong conversation skills. And a book that I definitely recommend is Crucial Conflicts. I can't remember the name of the author, but there's two books, Crucial Conflicts and Crucial Conversations, right? You have to know how to be able to have those difficult conversations in a constructive and effective way that leaves people walking away feeling seen and heard, dignified, and with their own respect and capable of making their own decision without you being passive aggressive and using manipulative tactics like being passive aggressive and gaslighting. Okay, so effective communication is probably one of the number one skills of an effective leader, because you have to be able to have those conversations, both good and bad, right? Like there's the sandwich method. You say something good and then you say, and don't say but, because but is going to be a negative word and then people are going to go immediately to a negative space. And so you can say, hey, Tamara, I really like this, and we can just make it a little bit better. We can tweak it by doing this. And then I have full faith and credit that you are going to soar once we do this. Somebody like me will receive that very, very well, right? Okay, but if you just come out swinging, most people don't want to do that. We know better than to do that. But the gaslighting, no. Okay, so gaslighting is usually a cover-up, right? Gaslighting screams, I don't want to be accountable. I don't want to take ownership for my mistake or my shortcoming. And so I'm going to gaslight you and make you think that you're the one who did something wrong, right? And now do we understand why that creates such distrust? It creates an immense amount of distrust when you do that, when you become Teflon. And Teflon has its place in leadership, don't get me wrong. But you become Teflon when you don't take account. You become very dangerous when you're Teflon and everything bounces off of you, meaning no responsibility, no ownership, because everybody knows ultimately it falls on the leader's shoulders, right? It's, I always said, if I'm not getting to the rank I want to get to, it is not my team's responsibility to get me there. That is on me. That is a Tamara problem, right? Now, I know me. I can get frustrated when I know people can be doing it and they can be winning and and they lie to me and tell me they're going to do it and then they don't do it. That is frustrating. I do get a certain amount of frustration with that, but I do my best to keep that to myself. And at the end of the day, it is still my responsibility to keep moving and keep working to do what I need to do for me, and not sit and sulk and be like, oh, I can't get there because my team. No, right? And I'll admit there have been times when I thought about just not doing the whole team building thing, because it's like you run into more of that than not. But I've decided to keep going for the ones to show up that actually will do it and want to do it. And so that's what I'm doing. And you still love on everybody else. You still love them where they're at, because you end up with a culture of great distrust when you don't. And a distrustful culture is a very volatile culture. The most toxic work environments that I have ever worked in, because of distrust, it was a very volatile. It was because it was unpredictable. You never knew what you were going to get. You never knew who was going to be on the chopping block, who was going to be at fault. And it just went from boom, boom, boom. And I've seen it and experienced it in family as well. When there is that lack of accountability in leaders and ownership, there's a big thing on TikTok right now where kids are not having contact with their parents, and some parents are making videos about it, and the kids are saying, no, it's not that we just think you were supposed to give us this perfect trauma-free life. We just expect you to take accountability for the things that you have done regardless of your trauma. And I'm like, okay, I can respect that. I absolutely can respect that, because number one, I believe, and I know from experience, one of the things in my own healing journey that has helped me was understanding that my parents also had their own trauma that impacted the way that they raised me. Okay. And the trauma they directly or indirectly may have caused me. Right. And so that gave me a fresh set of eyes. Right. And so I get what they're saying, because there are things that I never got an apology for, and I never will get an apology for. People have gone to the grave without giving me my apology in some cases. And I've learned to be okay with that. I've learned to You know, it's just the acknowledgement and awareness is oftentimes enough closure. I saw something like that on Instagram this morning, right? So as far as leadership goes, when you don't take accountability for your actions, that's when other people will invoke their boundaries. And some of the younger generations their boundary will be to leave and go find somewhere else. They have no problem with that, and they have no problem speaking up because they weren't brought up like us, that we couldn't speak up and that we couldn't, you know, set our boundaries. So just something to think about as you are leading and want to continue to lead. Have we done everything? Have we done everything? No, we still need to take omegas. Okay. I'll also say this before I go. No one respects a passive aggressive leader. Not only do they not trust you, they have no respect for you when you just can't come out and say what you gotta say, right? There's just no respect for that. It's like playing a game, and people don't really like to play games, especially when they're trying to make money. Okay, so that is it. I'm gonna go now, and I will chat with you later. Bye.